Welcome back to Healing Gardens, where we reconnect with the wisdom that sustained humanity for thousands of years and apply it to the challenges we face right now. Today we're talking about something that might seem simple on the surface, but holds extraordinary power: ancestral seed saving. This isn't just a charming hobby for nostalgic gardeners, it's a critical skill that directly impacts food security, biodiversity, and your family's resilience against the fragility of our modern food system. When you save seeds from your garden, you're participating in an unbroken chain of knowledge that predates written history, while simultaneously preparing for a future where the ability to grow your own food from self-renewing sources could mean the difference between abundance and scarcity. Our global food system rests on a foundation far more precarious than most people realize. Over the past century, we've lost an estimated 94% of our seed varieties as industrial agriculture consolidated around a handful of high-yielding, commercially profitable crops. This genetic bottleneck means that the tomatoes, corn, and squash feeding billions of people share nearly identical DNA, making them uniformly vulnerable to the same diseases, pests, and climate stresses. When a new pathogen emerges, or weather patterns shift dramatically, these monocultures have no backup plan, no genetic diversity to draw upon for resistance or adaptation. We've witnessed this danger repeatedly. The Irish potato famine devastated a nation dependent on genetically identical potatoes, and more recently, the Gros Michel banana was virtually wiped out by Panama disease because every plant was a genetic clone. In January 2026, we're seeing the consequences of this genetic erosion accelerate. Extreme weather events are occurring with increasing frequency and intensity, disrupting harvests and revealing how fragile supply chains buckle under stress. Shipping delays, fuel costs, and geopolitical tensions can empty grocery shelves within days. Meanwhile, multinational corporations control an ever larger percentage of the commercial seed market, often selling varieties engineered to be sterile, or protected by patents that criminalize the ancient practice of saving seeds. This concentration of power means gardeners and farmers lose autonomy over what they grow and become perpetual customers rather than sovereign stewards of their own food security. The urgency isn't theoretical, it's unfolding in real time as communities worldwide recognize that dependence on distant, fragile systems leaves them dangerously exposed. Long before seed catalogs and genetic laboratories, indigenous cultures across every continent developed sophisticated systems for selecting, saving, and sharing seeds that built true food sovereignty. The Three Sisters agriculture of Native American peoples, corn, beans, and squash, grown together, represents not just companion planting but millennia of seed selection that created varieties perfectly adapted to specific microclimates and growing conditions. These weren't static varieties but living, evolving populations that responded to changing conditions because each generation of seed savers selected from plants that thrived despite challenges. When drought struck, they saved seeds from the plants that produced despite water scarcity. When cold snaps threatened crops, they selected from the survivors, gradually building resilience into their food sources. Heirloom varieties carry within their genetics this accumulated wisdom, hundreds or thousands of growing seasons worth of adaptation embedded in each seed. A Cherokee purple tomato isn't just a beautiful, complex flavored fruit, it's the result of countless generations of selection for flavor, productivity, and disease resistance in specific conditions. The Hopi blue corn survived in desert conditions that would kill modern hybrid corn because it evolved alongside people who understood that saving seeds meant saving their culture, their ceremonies, and their survival. These ancestral practices created food security not through control and uniformity, but through diversity and adaptation. Each family, each village maintained their own unique strains, creating a genetic reservoir so deep that crop failures in one area rarely threatened the whole because different varieties responded differently to stress. The art of seed saving, really starts right there in your garden. It all begins with observation and selection. Throughout the growing season, keep an eye out for your strongest, most productive, and most disease-resistant plants. Once you spot them, go ahead and mark them. Maybe tie a ribbon around the stem, or place a stake nearby so you don't lose track. These parent plants, well, they receive your best care and attention because their offspring will carry forward those superior traits. For tomatoes, it's important to let fruits from these champion plants ripen fully on the vine, honestly, even a bit past prime eating quality, since seeds reach maximum viability when the fruit is completely mature. When they're ready, harvest those tomatoes and scoop the gel-coated seeds into a jar with a little water, letting this mixture ferment for about 2 to 3 days. This fermentation process, actually, mimics what happens in nature when overripe fruit falls to the ground. It breaks down the germination-inhibiting gel and improves seed viability while also killing many seed-borne diseases. After fermentation, the viable seeds will sink while debris and immature seeds float, which makes separation pretty simple. Rinse the good seeds thoroughly, spread them on a screen or plate in a single layer, and dry them completely in a warm location out of direct sunlight for 1 to 2 weeks. Properly dried seeds should snap, not bend, when you try to fold them. Now, for beans and peas, the process is even simpler. Just allow the pods to dry completely on the plant until they rattle when you shake them. Then, shell them and store the seeds. With these legumes, be sure to select from plants that produce abundantly, show disease resistance, and, ideally, are among the first to mature. Early production is a valuable trait, especially in short growing seasons. Storage really determines how long your saved seeds will remain viable. Most seeds maintain good germination rates for 3 to 5 years when stored in cool, dark, dry conditions. Some, like onions and parsnips, lose viability after just a year, while others, like tomatoes, can remain viable for a decade. The enemies of seed longevity are heat, light, and moisture, so your storage solution needs to address all three. Glass jars work beautifully. Clean baby food jars, mason jars, or even saved spice containers all serve perfectly. Add a food-grade silica gel packet or a tablespoon of powdered milk wrapped in tissue to absorb any residual moisture. Label meticulously with the variety name, harvest date, and any notes about the parent plant's performance. Store these jars in a cool basement, the back of a closet, or even the refrigerator. Just avoid the freezer, unless you're absolutely certain the seeds are dry, since any moisture will form ice crystals that can damage the cells. Each time you save seeds, you're actually conducting your own localized plant breeding program. Over multiple generations, the varieties you save become more and more adapted to your specific soil, climate, water availability, and even your personal growing practices. This is honestly evolution in action, compressed into a time frame you can actually witness. A variety that struggles in your garden the first year might, through careful selection of the best performers, become a thriving staple within 3 to 5 generations. This kind of genetic flexibility is just impossible with hybrid seeds, which either don't breed true or produce sterile offspring, forcing gardeners to buy fresh seeds every year. Heirloom and open-pollinated varieties, on the other hand, become more valuable with each passing year as they fine-tune themselves to your conditions. The economic implications go beyond simply saving money on seed packets, though that's certainly significant. When you control your seed supply, you're no longer vulnerable to shortages, price hikes, or discontinued varieties. More profoundly, you're building wealth in the truest sense, creating a renewable resource that appreciates, rather than depreciates. A single tomato plant can easily produce enough seeds for 100 plants the following year, and those 100 plants could generate thousands of seeds. This kind of exponential abundance allows you to share freely, trade with other gardeners, and build local food economies that keep wealth circulating within communities, instead of extracting it to distant corporations. Seed saving naturally fosters community because plant genetics improve through diversity. Seed libraries are popping up in communities worldwide as people realize that collective seed saving creates security no individual can achieve alone. These libraries operate on simple principles: borrow seeds in spring, grow them out, then return double what you borrowed, plus notes on how they performed in your garden. Seed swaps bring gardeners together to exchange varieties, share growing knowledge, and really strengthen the social fabric that true resilience requires. When you know your neighbors and regularly exchange seeds, you're building relationships that matter far more than any stockpile during an actual crisis. You don't need sprawling acreage to get started with seed saving. A single tomato plant in a container on your balcony can launch your journey into food sovereignty. Start with easy crops like beans, peas, lettuce, or tomatoes, since they readily self-pollinate and produce true-to-type seeds. Commit to learning one new crop's seed-saving technique each season. Over time, you'll gradually expand your skills and your seed collection. Within just a few years, you'll have developed a personal seed bank adapted to your growing conditions and a skill set that only increases in value as our food system's fragility becomes, well, more and more apparent. Seek out resources that deepen your knowledge. Organizations like Seed Savers Exchange, Native Seeds, Sox Search, and regional seed libraries all work to preserve heirloom varieties while teaching ancestral techniques. Online communities connect seed savers around the world, offering support and rare variety exchanges. Local workshops provide hands-on learning that books and videos just can't replicate. This knowledge infrastructure exists because people recognize that seed sovereignty is, honestly, a big deal in an uncertain world. Consider the world your grandchildren will inherit. The actions you take in your garden today, the seeds you save, the varieties you preserve, the skills you develop, those directly shape their food security and agricultural biodiversity in 2050 and beyond. Every seed you save is a vote for diversity over monoculture, for resilience over fragility, for sovereignty over dependence. This is how ordinary gardeners become extraordinary stewards, how individual acts accumulate into movements that transform food systems from the ground up. If this vision of food security built on ancestral wisdom resonates with you, please subscribe to Healing Gardens and share this guide with anyone ready to reclaim their place in the ancient, unbroken chain of seed savers who understood that controlling your seeds means controlling your destiny. Together, we're reviving practices that sustained humanity through every crisis and will sustain future generations through whatever comes next.